welcome to another season of India Today, India Tomorrow. This India Today special where we cut across generations to bring you a slice of life. And today we are joined by a very special trio of people. Three incredible talents who've come together from one family. Joining us now, Javed Akhtar, scriptwriter who redefined script writing in the Hindi film industry, lyricist and poet, and of course, public personality and intellectual. Also joining us is his daughter, Zoya Akhtar, celebrated director and someone who has carved a niche for herself in the Hindi film industry. And last but not the least, Farhan Akhtar, who is, in a sense, I think the youngest of the lot, but also himself a multifaceted personality, actor, director, and producer. Thank you all very much for joining us. This is capturing a lot of talent in one space, and it's taken me a lot of time to get all three of you together. Which leaves me to the question, are you all three such fierce individualists that you cannot be seen in one room? Is that difficult to have the three? Are you all three fierce individualists? Zoya, why don't you tell us?
I think so. I think we, and I think that's a good thing. I think we are very connected, but I think we all have our own individual lives, and luckily we've been given that space and freedom and headspace, and we all have our own thing going on, and then we come back when we need to.
Yeah, I think Zoom windows represent our lives very, very clearly and very well. That we are all together and connected, but we all have our individual things going on.
So you'll all sort of live in Bandra, Juhu, but live very, very independent lifestyles. Is that always been the case? Is that the way, Javed Saab, you wanted your children to grow, to be their own people?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there is no question about it. And I think after a certain age, people become adults and they become people. They used to be children. And to treat them like children is almost unnatural. Because in animal world, parents have great respect for their adult children. And they accept their independence and they never interfere in their lives.
So you never told them as a father growing up, Zoya, Farhan, you've got to be in the film industry. You and Honey, there was a film industry atmosphere around, I'm sure, in the house. You didn't push them at any stage कि filmmaking में कुछ ना कुछ करना है.
Not at all, not at all. And obviously there was a kind of atmosphere because most of our friends were from film industry. But that's about all. And their children were their friends. But it's totally their own choice, and as a matter of fact, their own effort. I cannot claim any contribution in the career, to be honest. And they have found their own way. Whatever they are, they can't blame me for that.
I'm going to come to that in a moment because there's this huge debate in Bollywood about nepotism. But Zoya, were you pushed into the film industry? You know, I'm just trying to understand, is films in your blood? Cricket was something that was in my blood, but I was not good enough to play like my father did for India. Were you sort of shadowed by the presence of your mother and father?
You know, I think storytelling is in our blood. I think telling stories. And I think it came from, yes, the atmosphere. I think it came from the fact that we were encouraged to read a lot. It came from the fact that we watched movies incessantly. My mom had a huge collection of foreign films. She had a projector. So we had like experiences like that. There were people from the film industry that were always in the house. So when, by osmosis, you just start watching a film differently because you hear all the adults dissect a movie in a different way. They're talking about the cinematography, they're talking about performance, they're talking about screenplay. So before you know it, you are looking at that, you're looking at entertainment very differently. So it's just part and parcel of how you grow up. I knew I wanted to be a writer before I got into film, but actually the thing that pushed me to direct was Meera Nair, was watching Salaam Bombay. It blew my mind. I was very young. And I didn't like the Hindi films that were out at that time. I thought maybe I'll have a career in advertising. I was copywriting. But then I saw Salaam Bombay and I was like, I want to make movies. And she was my first boss. And I can say she's been a very good mentor to me.
Farhan, what about you? Was there a push factor, a pull factor that drew you into cinema?
Yeah, I was always very attracted by the world of film. I thoroughly enjoyed watching Hindi movies from the time I was a young kid. I would watch the same film if I liked the film. I would watch it every single morning. I would wake up, and we were fortunate enough to have a VHS player, and I would watch a portion of a film before I left for school. And I think to a point where probably it must have really worried mom and dad, like, is he going to do anything else? Because I really had a huge love for movies. So my attraction towards film comes first from being a fan of movies, or being a fan of certain film personalities. And then, of course, this atmosphere that both Dad and Zoya have spoken about. When you see it and you hear those conversations and you see those people, there's something so magical about that world from when you don't understand how things are put together, that you feel like you want to be a part of it. So there was a huge drive as far as that was concerned.
So let's settle this then. Let's settle it at the outset, since this is the big talking point in your film industry. The likes of Kangana Ranaut, of course, have sparked it off. The tragic death of suicide of Sushant Singh Rajput has added, in a sense, another dimension to it. This talent versus so-called nepotism, insider versus outsider. Let's settle it. Javed Saab, why don't you kick off? Since you are the outsider, you came into the film industry as the outsider, as a writer with Hati Mere Saathi and Andaz and all these films. Is there an insider, outsider? Let's settle it today.
You see, there is some truth in it that anybody who is born in a film family and has some connections or some access have a kind of a foot in the door. But that's about all. If you see who are the people who have made big, they are not, most of them are from families where perhaps the parents were not that successful as the children have become, and vice versa. So it is ultimately, it's a very, very perfectly clean test. There cannot be any rigging possible, because ultimate vote comes from the audience. At the most, if you are very privileged, you will get a break. All right, fine. But break doesn't make you a star. Break doesn't give you a career. If you can prove yourself again, again, and again, only then you have a career. And there, no nepotism can help. Besides that, I have no idea what is the definition of nepotism. Mr. Yash Chopra was a very big producer-director. He gave break to his son. So was it nepotism? The son proved himself. The son today is a big filmmaker, film director, a producer, not because he was given break by his father. For 20 years, perhaps more, he has proved himself. That's why Mr. Yash Johar was a successful producer. He gave break to his son, but he is not Karan Johar because his son gave him a break. Because for many years, one after another, he has made blockbusters. And he has not made blockbusters because he was Mr. Yash Johar's son. He has made blockbusters with a talented young man. So ultimately, it is the level of your talent which cannot be rigged. It is not any other election. There is no booth capturing. There is no false voting, fake voting. It is perfect. Only the audience approval will give you a career of success.
But you could get an initial break. You could get an initial break. You could get the initial break.
If this is nepotism, I have money. I am putting money on my son. This is nepotism. Then every industrialist is nepotist.
Zoya?
What is the definition of nepotism?
For me, it's a very weird position because it took me 7 years to get a movie made. And I'm born in the lap of the industry, and I had access to everybody, but nobody did my film. And so my friends that came from outside, Reema Kakti, Ruchi Narayan, Anurag Kashyap, everybody made a movie before me. I don't know. See, the thing is, everybody's journey is different. Like I am from the industry, it took me a really long time. Somebody comes from outside, it happens for them with a certain amount of struggle. You take an Aishwarya Rai or a Deepika Padukone. They got a break like this because they're gorgeous. That's a genetic advantage. Should we be abusing it? You know what I mean? That's not merit, the way they look. And they got the break because they looked great. So where do you quantify this? What does it mean? And at the end of the day, the thing is, like, if I am a barber and I have a barber shop, am I going to leave it to my son? Or am I going to leave it to the best barber in the city?
So what would you do?
He may inherit it, but he has to cut hair properly.
Sure.
And if he doesn't, he's going to shut shop. And that's the bottom line.
So you're saying what Javed Saab is saying, in a sense, talent cannot be rigged. At the end of the day, particularly in a fiercely competitive field like filmmaking, talent cannot be rigged. Am I correct?
Of course it can't be rigged. But you have to, do I have privilege? Yes, I met everybody. I met people, and I met people who said, nobody did my film because of who my last name was. My privilege was that I had a house to live in, and I didn't have to pay rent. And luckily, Farhan was working, so he paid the bills. That was my privilege. No, that is an absolute, that I didn't struggle. I didn't have a physical struggle. I did jobs and survived. But that was my privilege. My privilege wasn't anything else. And yes, access is a huge deal, but it doesn't get you a job. Please ask me.
Dil Chahta Hai, Farhan? Farhan, your first sort of film, was it because you were Javed Akhtar's son, or was it simply because you believed you had the talent? Yes.
I would like to answer this.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, he has made Dil Chahta in spite of me, not because of me. Let me tell you. The story is that one day he came to me and he said that I have a script, I want you to read it. So I read the script and I liked the script. I said, the script is very fine, but what do you want to do with it? Do you want to sell this script? He said, no, I want to direct it. So I said, how would you direct it? From where you will collect the actors? He said, that is not the problem. I have already spoken to Amir Khan, and Amir Khan has heard the script and he has said, yes, I did not know anything about it. So I said, fine, who is the producer? Then he said, my friend Ritesh. I said, you are a newcomer and Ritesh is a newcomer. How will you make this film? He said, no, we'll manage.
Interesting.
So he made the film. He made the film. And after many years, one day Amir Khan gave his version to me. He said that I had told my secretary that for next 6 months, I don't want to hear any script. And walks in Farhan Akhtar, and he introduced himself on the set. And I recognized him by his surname and by his face that he's your son. And I told him that I'm sorry, but for next 6 months, I'm not going to listen to any narration. He went away. I was expecting your call. I was sure that within a day or 2 or 3, 4 days, you will give me a call that please listen to the script of my son. And you did not call me. And ultimately, it dawned upon me that perhaps this boy has not told the father. And that made me very curious about it. That he knows that you and I know, in spite of that, he has not used his father, that there has to be something about it. And I told my secretary that you call him back. I want to hear this. And the secretary was quite taken aback that you have said, sir, for 6 months. No, don't worry about 6 months for other, but I want to hear this boy's script. And that is how Farhan narrated the script. And immediately Amir Khan said, yes. So please understand that he got to make this film in spite of me. Suppose he had told me and I had called Amir Khan, that would have been disastrous.
He may have said no. Farhan, you want to tell your side of the story? Was it a conscious attempt by you to go to Amir Khan and say, look, please see my script not as Javed Akhtar's son, but as someone who wants to make a good film?
Rajdeep, so much has been said about the beginnings of Dil Chahta Hai on your show that I don't know if I want to add anymore.
No, but was there a conscious attempt that you wanted to be your own person?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really did not want to use my father's name or my mother's name because I really feel that I wanted people to get excited about the story, about this, and purely base their decision on wanting to do the film for that reason. That was important to me. And I feel that collective energy that happens when you're excited about a project because your heart really tells you that you want to do it, makes for a better filmmaking experience. So that's how I approached it.
No, but do you agree with what Zoya said, that in a way you might at best get a bit of a soft landing at the very outset, or you may not have to go through the physical struggle, but at the end of the day, it's about your ability to be talented enough to attract the audiences, to attract viewers.
No, absolutely. I mean, there is a certain benefit of access that you have. There's lots of people that we've grown up with, who are friends that I can say since childhood, who you can easily just pick up the phone and call, and say, I want you to hear something. It was it's a strange thing that both for Zoya and for me, that all those people that we knew that none of them did our films. We ended up working with people outside that immediate circle. But regardless of that, I mean, the access was available, and that does help to a certain extent. But again, I mean, I think you could get an opportunity, but you have to prove yourself. I mean, if your ambition is to make one film, I mean, then sure, fair enough. I mean, use whoever you want to get a film made. But if your ambition is really to have a career and for people to take you seriously, as a filmmaker or as a producer, as a writer, I mean, that is something then you have to create by yourself. Nobody can help you do it.
The reason I'm asking this, Zoya, is in cricket at the end of the day, the 11 most talented people usually play for India. Is that true of cinema? Would the 11 most talented people be the top stars or top directors or top writers? Do you believe that in cinema, you could be very, very talented, but if you don't get the break, then you won't quite make it?
I am of the firm belief, and I have been here and I've worked here quite a bit. I'm of the firm belief that if you are very, very talented and you still haven't been able to make it, is because you're doing something wrong with your behavior or attitude. Because it's the only reason why people won't work with you. See, It's a very tedious job. I mean, a regular shooting day is 14 hours, just the work hours. With over that. Now, you don't want to go to set and you don't want to work with someone who's going to harass you. So however talented they are, bottom line, you don't want that. You don't need that experience. So you have to be talented and fit a role. You have to be a star, which the audience decides, nobody else, and give you the money so that I can make the film. I can afford to make this film on this budget with you. And 3, I have to enjoy working with you. Because if you're going to harass me, none of the above matter. So I don't know people who are talented and haven't made it. Like, do you know anybody who's really talented and didn't make it or didn't get a break?
I don't know enough about your industry. I'm just trying to look at it from an outsider. Somebody, let's say, comes in from a small town, comes to the big city, has to go from...
So, Rajdeep, may I add,
yes,
I do feel, I do feel that if you are very talented, I mean, your talent will find a way. It will come up to the surface. That is bound to happen. No, strangely enough, I do feel that this conversation is happening at the weirdest time. We are right now in a time where so much talent is getting, so much new talent is being put out to show because of OTT platforms, because of various ways of now exploiting content, that you are seeing people, you are seeing faces, you are seeing that you would have maybe 10 years ago never seen because these avenues didn't exist. There was such a fight for that one film role or 2 film parts. Now there is so much being made. You're constantly casting for new people. You're constantly looking for new people because there's a shortage of crews. There's a shortage of cast. Everyone is so busy. I mean, obviously not at this COVID time, but lead up to it. Everyone is working. And with Amazon, with Netflix, with all these platforms that are out there, there is a hunger for new content constantly. So you will end up seeing more and more, you will actually end up seeing more and more new faces. And they will not be insider faces.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Zoya.
You can't blame celebrity culture on the industry. The celebrity culture happens with the media and the audience. I mean, why are people photographing Taimur? He's a baby. Who's photographing him? Why is Taimur clickbait? Who's watching him? Why does he have 50,000 articles? And when he's 18 years old and already a celebrity, why should somebody not hire him? Because half the job is already done. It's done by the audience and done by the media. So you can't, I'm sorry, the media cannot be photographing star kids, making money off that because they make money off that and then turning around and abusing them. It's not fair.
In a way, isn't that the big difference, Javed Saab, between your time, if I may call it your time, and today's time? Both Farhan and Zoya are reflecting this new age. Actually, in a strange way, you have more opportunities today than you possibly had when you came into the film industry, late 60s, early 70s.
Yes. Oh, yes. When I joined film industry, there were no grays. Either you were in or you were out. There were no corridors, no verandas at all. So there was only a door and then nothing. You see, now, how do you become successful? This is a question that I have been asked many times in Q&A sessions. So I give them an answer which is true of any success in any vocation, whether it is politics or sports or cinema or journalism or whatever under the sun. I give them an example of rivers. You take all the big rivers of the world, Nile, Amazon, Volga, Ganga, Brahmaputra, so many rivers. All these big rivers, they reach the ocean ultimately. Does anybody make a highway for them? Does anybody put traffic signs? Turn left, go right. There is a circle, then you take this side. No, nothing. Is the topography is kind to these rivers? No. Some rivers have to cross the deserts, some have to cross the jungle, some have to go through the mountains, some hilly areas, some on plateaus, some in plains and so on. Every route is almost an impossible and a different route. That's why no river has the same trajectory. But what makes all of them reach the ocean? It is only the pressure of water. It is only the strength of the river that takes them to the... Nothing is in their support. No force is helping them to reach the ocean. They reach the ocean only because of the power of their current. And this is true of the life also. Every person has a different topography of circumstances. But you go through it and reach the ocean of success if there is power and current.
So this is the poet philosopher in you. I sense that this is your response in a way to the Kangana Ranauts of the world. That Kangana has her own journey, and maybe maybe Karan Johar has his own journey. Everyone has their own journey.
Her very existence proves that talent never goes wasted. She is an extremely talented actress, and she has become successful. And she is an outsider.
And she got a break before me.
And she got a break before you, but she got a break before you. But her argument is that she got her break purely with no recommendation, with no godfather, with no mentor.
And so then that should prove exactly what the argument, because you don't need it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering why has the Hindi film industry become so divided on this? Was this something bubbling below the surface? I mean, let's look at, let's go back into the past. You had the Dharmendras and the Rajesh Khannas who came from the outside, and you had the Kapoor family and the so-called dynasty.
This is not about the film industry. The film industry is not some room that you enter, Deep. It's an infrastructure. It's an infrastructure that anybody can avail. If you want to make a movie, you can hire a cameraman, you can take two actors. Anurag Kashyap has been doing it for years. Nobody has brought more new talent, whether it's in front of the camera or behind the camera, than Anurag Kashyap.
And he's an outsider.
He's an outsider. He's a star. And he's introduced Nawazuddin, Radhika Apte, Kalki Keklan, Vicky Kaushal. I mean, the list is endless. Jaideep Alawat, Richa Chadda, Amrita Subhash. I can give you chapters of the artists, working artists that he has brought in. DP's, I mean, he's prolific, right? Why don't people watch his films? Why aren't they buying his tickets? It's not about this insider outside. It's not that. It's basically people are angry because it's haves and have-nots in the country. It is about people that are privileged and people that are not. It's playing out in the film industry because this is where it's a soft target. It's easy to see. Let's shout at the film industry. I mean, really, it's really not about inside outside. You want to make a movie, you can. Why don't you want to make a movie? Make it. Today you can make a movie on your phone. Sean Baker made Tangerine, won an award. He made it on an iPhone. You can do anything today. You have everything. You want something else. You want to be a star. You want to be invited to that party. That no one can help you, boss. That is a journey you have to take. You won't get that like that. Farhan,
just a final word on this debate, because it's a fascinating one and we can go on endlessly talking about it. But do you get a sense, therefore, as you said earlier, that it's time for all of us, including the media, to rise above these divides? These are all divides being created in a sense in society, in the film industry, in politics. You hear about the silver spoon dynasty in politics versus someone who claims he's come from the grassroots. Is it time to, when you make a film or when you act in a film, do you at all look at any of these issues?
I think if we just can, I mean, it's almost, you're asking for some idealistic kind of society or some kind of utopia, but to just base your opinions or opinion of a person on the work that they're doing, on their actions. How does it matter eventually? I mean, whether the person was born to this family or to that, whether the person came from this town or from that town, when they came into your consciousness and given the work that they're doing, be it in any field, are they doing work that you like or you don't like? If you like their work, good. If you don't like their work, don't watch it. If you don't want to vote for a party because you don't agree with their ideology, don't vote for them. But that's basically all we can do. For me,
is there an Akhtar dynasty or not? Is there an Akhtar film dynasty? Javed Akhtar, Hani Rani, Shabana Azmi, Zoya Akhtar, Farhan Akhtar. I mean, for the outside world, you seem like a dynasty.
Well, what can I say? I think sometimes maybe we don't have strength in numbers, but hopefully our work will speak for us.
Maybe it's a very good gene pool.
It's a terrific gene pool. Have you ever thought of yourself
in his absolutely unbiased opinion?
In his absolutely unbiased opinion. Have you ever thought of that, Zoya, that you're privileged to be part of this gene of a great gene pool?
I'm privileged because I was allowed to do whatever I want. I'm privileged because I was allowed to make my mistakes and do what I want and explore whichever arena and avenue and a life choice I want to make. That's my privilege. And yes, I'm a writer, and having 3 other writers in my family is a massive privilege. Yeah, I'm not going to deny that. But
so what would you tell?
I'm not going to, let's just put it this way. No matter what anyone says, I'm not changing my parents. No matter what anyone says, I'm not changing my career. Now live with it. You want to watch. If you like my work, watch my film. If you don't like it,
will you invite a Kangana Ranaut to your next party?
She has gone on every platform and basically said she doesn't like my work. So I shouldn't be putting her in that position.
Yeah, she says that Gully Boy got the kind of awards that Kedarnath deserved. When you hear that, do you feel offended, or do you just ignore it?
Not at all, because I didn't go for the award ceremonies, firstly, for starters. And it's not important. And honestly, she herself has boycotted the awards. So I don't know why she keeps talking about them.
That's an interesting point on which to take up.
She boycotted them, and she only talks about awards. I don't understand it. But I wasn't at the film fair, so I'm not going to comment.
But it doesn't offend you. Who says what about you no longer offends you. A third person in a news magazine, gossip magazine says, Gully Boy, bad film, doesn't worry you.
No. You make a film, and everybody is entitled, when you put it out for an audience, everybody is entitled to have an opinion, and they are entitled to share this opinion because we are still a democracy. So, I cannot get offended. I have chosen to be here, and I'm choosing to do this work. And there will be people that don't like my work, and there are people that like my work, and it's fine.
Rajdeep,
yes.
There is a little anecdote about George Bernard Shaw. One of his plays had the first performance, and he came out during the intermission. He came out of the curtain, and he said, "So, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think of my latest play?" And somebody from the backbenches shouted, "Rubbish!" And he said, "I quite agree with you, gentlemen, but who we two are in front of so many?" So even Zoya agrees, that will not solve the problem.
Okay.
Who we two are in front of so many?
Okay, let's take a break, and then I'll come back and talk about cinema past, present, and future, and what really is the face of cinema in the future. You're watching this special on India Today, India Tomorrow with 3 very special people, Farhan, Zoya, and Javed Akhtar. Welcome back. You're watching this very special India Today, India Tomorrow with 3 of the most creative people you can hope to meet, Farhan, Zoya, and Javed Akhtar. This notion of creativity in cinema, do you believe that it's, again, something that comes naturally, or do you have to be trained? Zoya, were you trained in a way? Did you have to train your creative gene pool in a way to improve yourself? How did you choose the kind of films you decided to do? Was that completely personal choices that you make, or is that influenced by the family environment?
It's influenced by the cinema you watch and the cinema you respond to. It's influenced by the education you have. It's influenced by like your aesthetic, I think. Your aesthetic, your value system, your politics. I studied literature and sociology. I grew up in the house I grew up in. I watched a lot of foreign films because my mom was at FTI at some point, so she had a massive collection. I went to NYU and did a course. All my friends were from independent cinema. So it's a mixture of
So you want influence by the film that Javed Akhtar, for example, along with Salim, the great films of the 70s, were they major influences on you?
I think so. I think my need to make stories that people watch, no matter what I'm trying to say in it, and even if it's not kind of been done before, I try to make it in a way that's commercially palatable. So I think that comes from there, because I've grown up in the middle of commercial Hindi cinema, and I've had one foot in independent cinema. So I think I'm a hybrid of that.
Farhan, you're interesting, because while Zoya and Javed have largely been behind the scenes, you actually went in front of it. You actually decided, mujhe actor banna hai. Was that again a conscious choice? Was that just kind of part of experimentation, wanting to do something different to what perhaps others had done? Your mother had been a successful actor, so there was a bit of that, surely.
And Shabana is as well.
And Shabana is. So, I mean, did you want to be in front of the camera necessarily?
I don't think if Rock On hadn't come along, I really don't know if I would have done it. It just felt at the time, I was just fresh off finishing the first Dawn. I was wondering what to do next. And it just happened to be a very chance encounter with Abhishek, who directed that film. And there was something about that story, something about that character, also the music, because it was the rock genre. It was something that I could relate to. It made me feel like, I think I'd like to give this a shot. But if it wasn't that film, I don't know if I would have gone down this avenue. I'm just, so that for example, like a couple of years just before that, maybe 2 years before that, Rakesh Mehra and I had met, and he had said, he wants me to do a part in Rang De Basanti. And for me, it was just unimaginable. When he spoke to me about that, I was like, it's not possible. I don't know how to act. I don't know if I'll be able to do this thing. So, I mean, all the best, of course. And he made a great film. But it took a script like Rock On to convince me to be able to do it. And once I did, it felt like there was an ease. It felt like it was something that I knew I would enjoy doing if I could push it further and further. And then that, of course, led me to doing films that I have now.
Yeah, you were outstanding in Bhag Milkha Bhag.
Thank you.
Truly outstanding. And, I'm just wondering, Javed Sir, when I look at the films that you did in the 70s, and I looked at the films that Zoya now does, or Farhan now does, I mean, it seems like two different universes. Are you comfortable with the kind of cinema they do?
Yes. You see, we have one tradition in our family, and this is almost 7 generations old. By the way, my
last... So ये 1857 से है.
Oh yes, that's right. All of them are writers and poets, and known poets who are mentioned in any respectable anthology.
Right.
But each one of them have been totally different kind of poet. My grandfather was a poet, but there is nothing common between my father's poetry and my grandfather's poetry.
Interesting.
I write poetry which is totally different from my father's poetry. And generally what happens that when the children become filmmakers or writers or directors, and their parents have been in this vocation, so at least in the beginning you can hear an echo of the father's work or the mother's work. But it was totally different. It did not adhere to the tradition. It adhered to the tradition of not following the tradition. So they were totally different. They were voices right from the first film, whether it is the Chahta Hai or Luck by Chance. They were not their parents' equals by any stretch of imagination, and I'm very proud of that.
I'm wondering whether that was almost a conscious decision, Zoya and Farhan, that, I want to do everything to convince people, look, we have a completely different sensibility to what my father had.
I think...
7 generations.
Yes. I think, Rajdeep, maybe Zoya will also agree. The thing is that for most of the 80s, which is when we were like teenagers and stuff like that, the films that were being made, they really weren't being made for us. We were watching films, they were, just really loud pieces. Melodrama had reached like its ultimate peak, and everything was very over the top. There was a lot of like gruesome violence. There was just, it was a strange time for film.
Yeah.
And for me, the first film that kind of came along and really changed the scene was Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, which felt like after a very long time a film that was being made for us to watch.
And Jojita
and
also was lovely.
yeah, Jojita
Sort
came
of
after.
new generation rom-coms
Yeah, so that film stayed with me, you know, and when
or
I was
romantic
thinking
dramas
about,
rather.
yeah, like a romantic drama. And of course, I mean, like there was a lot of fun in that film. There was friendship, there was travel, and there was something about that film that always stayed with me. And I feel that inherently we've grown up on so much drama in films, you know, that there's been like some kind of a knee-jerk reaction to wanting to bring too much melodrama into films or drama into films.
But could your generation make a Sholay? You know, where I'm coming, you know, the epic films that, you know, Sholay today, I could watch it again and again. I could watch a Diwar, almost the perfect script. You know, and I just wonder, could today's generation make a Diwar or a Sholay?
No,
or am I being unfair?
You are being unfair, because it is not possible. I think when I speak to Pyre, when I speak to even Salim Uncle, they didn't know what was going to happen with those movies. You know, so I mean, the fact that people remember every single character of Sholay, even now, 40 years later, how many ever years later that it is something that was unimaginable. When I think back the macro way, of course, there's no comparison here. But when I think about people, when I meet them now, and they speak to me about Dil Chahta Hai, it's been 20 years, and they remember scenes, and they remember Subodh, they remember, like, you know, little things. Did I imagine that they would remember all this stuff? I didn't. You know, so I mean, films take on really a life of their own. You can't compare these stories with each other.
Javed Saab is smiling. Javed Saab is smiling.
I also think, Rajdeep, when you're a writer, when you are writing your own material, your first film is very personal. It's always something very close to you. And it's not just what Farhan did, which was about him and his gang of friends. You know what I mean? Or my experience working as an assistant director in the film industry and being a fly on the wall in this space. Even you take any filmmaker, you know, whether even Ayan Mukherjee with Wake Up Sid, these are very personal films. And I think when you're writing your own film, it will be personal, and therefore it will be original.
You know, Javed Saab, you're listening almost very indulgently to your children. And I'm just wondering whether you are about to tell them that, look, Diwar or Sholay to nahi bana sakte aap. Jo bhi banaoge, Diwar, Sholay. And I remember you once telling me that every time you were writing a dialogue for Diwar, you and Salim Saab kept telling Yash Chopra, I think, yaar, ye aur ek week chalegi. This dialogue, 2 more weeks. So you knew it was going to be a super hit. I mean, 50, which film runs for 50 weeks? Now it's about the first weekend.
अरे देखिए, वो तो सब सेल्स टॉक थी, वो तो करनी पड़ती है ना. लेकिन ये कि जब आप वो शोले और दीवार की बात कर रहे थे, तो was very keen to interrupt and tell them, बच्चों, अंकल की बात सुनो.
But let's be honest, you know, there are those who say you will not get the Rishikesh Mukherjees and the Bimal Roys will not come up in today's generation. Is that being fair to today's generation? Can we compare generation? Like, I believe we can't compare cricketers of different generations. Can we compare filmmakers?
Listen, nothing comes back. Nothing comes back. Things come in a different manner. Maybe we take something from the past, but we take it on our own terms and conditions. It is not exactly the same. This idea that there was a golden era, and there was never a golden era, as a matter of fact. No golden era.
Sir, music ka to tha. Can anyone make music like S.D. Burman with Gulzar Saab's lyrics, or, you know, an R.D., you know, those music ka generation to tha. F.E. Azmi's lyrics, would that come today?
वो होता क्या है कि जब गुजर जाता है तो गोल्डन एरा कहलाता है. आपको मालूम है जिन पोएट्स का आप नाम ले रहे हैं, how badly they were once upon a time criticized in literary circles, कि ये पोएट्री में कुदाल, फावड़ा, मजदूर, मिल, चिमनी ऐसे वर्ड यूज करते हैं, पोएट्री के वर्ड्स हैं. तो अब बाद में फिर वो एक्सेप्ट होता है. तो when they started writing their poetry, which is called progressive writers poetry, for the conservatives it was disaster. It was sacrilegious to use such kind of words in poetry. तो वो जब गुजर जाता है तो वो लगने लगता है गोल्डन पीरियड. अभी क्या है, आप सही कह रहे हैं कि जो म्यूजिक का स्टैंडर्ड था, जो लिरिक का स्टैंडर्ड था, वो अभी एक डिप में है, इसमें कोई शक नहीं. लेकिन ये ऐसे ही रहेगा, ये भी मानने वाली बात नहीं. गुड टाइम, बैड टाइम.
So you believe times change? You believe times change and filmmakers evolve?
ये कहे कि भाई आज फलां जैसी जो पिक्चर 70 में बनी थी या 50 में बनी थी, वैसी बनने, अब वो नहीं बननी चाहिए, वो बनेगी भी नहीं।
Right.
कुछ ऐसा बनेगा जो कभी पहले नहीं बना था, और उसी की आप इज्जत करेंगे। आप शोले की इसलिए इज्जत करते हैं या दीवार की कि उस तरह की इंटेंसिटी या उस तरह का मैग्नीट्यूड नहीं देखा गया था। नाउ इफ समबडी कॉपीज दैट एंड ट्राइज टू अचीव दोज फैकल्टीज और दोज स्ट्रॉन्ग पॉइंट, देन इट वोंट बी ओरिजिनल। उसमें बात ही नहीं आएगी।
You think Farhan, Zoya, there's a golden age, that your father went through a golden age and you are going through a different age. I won't call it a golden
age. This will be golden age after 10 years, 20 years.
This will be also a golden age after 10 years. Okay.
And the kind of films that are being made today, and I see the future is very bright.
Right.
They were not made before. They were never made before.
You want to, your favorite Zoya Akhtar, your favorite Javed Akhtar film?
My favorite, oh God, I have too many. I love Sholay, I love Diwar. I mean, I respond to different things. I even like Kala Patthar, Mr. India, Shakti.
Okay. Farhan, any film of Zoya that you particularly like and of your father?
I loved Luck by Chance, but the experience I want to repeat with her is Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara.
Achha, you're asking to be... See, now you'll be accused of nepotism.
I'm being selfish.
You'll be accused of nepotism. You're asking your sister to put you in our next film.
Every single person who's worked with her on that film says, please make the second one. Her audiences who have nothing to do with the film industry.
I just loved... I just want to tell you, I love the film, especially that Sayonara song. I don't know how you did it, but it was just great fun. Senorita. Sorry, Senorita. What am I saying? Sayonara. Senorita. Look, I'm getting old.
That means we...
I know. Senorita. Senorita is lovely. I use it.
Remember this conversation because now part 2 will be set in bad.
No, I'm not editing it out, but it's on my playlist when I walk in the morning. So trust me that So I just, Javed Saab, any film of Farhan and Zoya that you saw and said, wow?
No, I said their debut films like Dil Chahta Hai or Luck by Chance or this recent film of Zoya, Gully Boy or...
you felt proud?
All of them. Yeah. I mean, I feel really every time she gives me a pleasant surprise. Or he gave me a pleasant surprise with that film. Have I written any film of this kind? No. The answer is no.
I just have 2 more minutes on this, and I want to ask you all, are all of you atheists? Javed Saab, have you also passed that on to the next generation?
No, I have not passed anything to them. Now it is for them to decide whether they are atheists or not. I have not given it. Farhan was 8 years old. When one day, surprised, he came back from the school and asked what religion we are in. He did not know that. Somebody must have told him something in the school because he had never seen any religion at home at all.
So are you Farhan an atheist?
No, I continue the tradition till today. I see no religion in my house.
You see no religion in your house. And Zoya, are you also an atheist?
Yes, guilty. I celebrate every festival though.
You celebrate every festival. So it's...
every festival, yeah.
That's the best way to be. I should say sayonara now. I should be saying sayonara and not senorita. It's been wonderful talking to all three of you. I'm glad that we could do it, cut across generations. And in a sense, I think the one thing that binds you all is the love for cinema and love for life. And I think that will keep you together. I hope one day we can do this in another golden age of cinema, maybe 10, 20 years from now, when your progeny also enter cinema, maybe. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Rajdeep.
It's been very special to have you all on India Today, India Tomorrow. That's it on this. Yes, Javed Saab, you wanted to have a final word as always?
No. I just want to say thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Sayonara bolna chahiye, sir. Sayonara.
Say sayonara to Senorita.
नहीं वो पुराना गाना था sayonara और अब नया गाना है Senorita.
It's perfectly all right. But मैंने कहा now you can say sayonara to Senorita.
चलिए, thank you all very much for joining us. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching.